So, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for just over a decade now, both as a player and also now as a DM. And today I'm announcing that I'm going to be beginning a project based off of one of the campaigns that I have ran. So, let's fire in. For those of you that do not know what Dungeons and Dragons is, it is a tabletop RPG game where you and several other players all get together, either in person or via Zoom or whatever online platform you wish to use, and you all create characters like with most video games, and you are guided through a story that is called and known as a campaign. And the person guiding you is called the DM or the Dungeon Master. And from there, much like with any fantasy novel that you would read, you are taken through a narrative and a story that will progress your characters from where they are at probably level 1 from a beginning session all the way through to the very end of a campaign. Dungeons and Dragons was originally created by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and was originally published in 1974. So around 11 years ago, I started off as a player during 3.5 or third edition of Dungeons and Dragons, whilst I was still in the later years of high school when I was around about 16 or 17. At this point in Dungeons and Dragons life, 3.5 was the edition where Dungeons and Dragons had expanded the most in terms of the class creations, the customizations that you can have, the different classes and subclasses that you could have. And something that terrifies a lot of players now looking back, a lot of monsters have what they called or had what they call feats, which is quite scary because feats are something to empower players now that we're in 5th edition, and it's something that monsters and enemies do not usually have. But back in 3.5 edition, that was something that was quite prevalent in a lot of monsters, especially much more difficult monsters to battle and defeat. From this though, I played in a couple campaigns, both as a rogue and then as a ranger, as I quite enjoyed the slightly more dexterous and stealthy classes. But from there, I decided I wanted to further my journey and become a dungeon master because I enjoyed the thought of creating my own world, my own universe, and my own story as well, and guiding my players through that. So I went out and I bought a Dungeon Master's Guide and also a monster manual from where I would begin my journey into becoming a DM, or a somewhat decent DM. I decided I was going to homebrew it, which homebrewing is basically taking the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook and several other guides as well, and basically creating your own world instead of going off what Dungeons and Dragons has created for players to go through. And I also didn't have the money to buy any of the adventure modules because to me it was quite expensive at the time, mostly because I didn't have a job because I was in school. From this though, I went through the years with the same group of friends who would be my players. They were both friends whilst playing and also outside of which, because most of them were my schoolmates and they're still very, very close friends of mine today. And with that, we went through several campaigns, several different campaigns as well, none of which made it all the way to the end because I would end up getting writer's block, or there would potentially be scheduling issues, or I would just say, hey guys, I'm not really a fan of running this campaign at all. Let's try something a little bit different. But then 5th edition came out, and I think that was a big turning point in the lifetime of Dungeons and Dragons. It was a huge step, I felt, in the right direction in terms of a lot of the rules, the mechanics, the monsters as well, and also there were some new cool magic items and features as well as the class customizations had been totally revamped, which was very, very exciting. And around December 2019, that was when I officially began my Renoran campaign, not only with my original group of players, but also with 3 brand new players who were also very close friends of mine. And we created this group that would be the player characters to run through the campaign of Renoran, which Renoran was the world that I had created. I had fleshed out the world, I had a campaign premise, a plot hook as well, and also a way for the characters to meet each other, which was not meeting in a tavern. This campaign went all the way from session 0 all the way through the pandemic, several dozen Zoom call sessions, and a final conclusive session in December of 2022, which was in fact a 2-parter. Didn't anticipate it to turn into a 2-parter, but we ran that late with the final session that we decided, you know what, we'll pick up and we'll finish it off next time. And that was it. That was the longest and most successful campaign, and also the first one that I had ever completed as a DM. And it was a huge sense of pride, but also a great amount of sadness as well, in that everything that I had created, everything that I'd worked for, had came to a glorious end, which, you know, it was fantastic for the players to go through everything that they'd been through, all the trials and tribulations, as well as all the achievements and victories, and getting that final ending was a sense of relief, as well as a DM over the course of 3 years, which was fantastic, but also a lot of work. And I came to the realization that I want to create something more than just a campaign to look back on fondly. I want something more. Hence the reason for this video. I want to create something a bit more. So this is Renoran, Dungeons and Dragons campaign, officially. Not officially for Wizards of the Coast, but like officially for me in my heart. It's official, this project. This video is going to set as the first documentation of this project, just going over and discussing the planning and the process I'm going to go through in terms of the final product, what is needed, deadlines, and any extras as well. So the plan is to produce a cinematic for the campaign, as well as all the cool promotional and marketing assets to go with it, as if this is going to be a real thing. It's going to be a real series, real video game, whatever, you know, we imagine it wants to become. We are going to take this as seriously as if, you know, we've been paid by, say, you know, Netflix, Amazon Prime, whoever it is, to create this a final product. And with that, as a freelance graphic designer as well, I have the very exciting opportunity to be working with a music record company that I'm creating the identity system for, who aren't just paying me, they are also going to be doing the soundtrack, the official soundtrack for this product, which is a huge, huge step, not only personally for me, but also professionally for this project as well. So it's going to be really exciting, getting and hearing and going through the process of checking out what this soundtrack is going to look like, it's going to sound like, what the feel is going to be for the cinematic as well. And I think there's going to be a really important part during the storytelling and the narrative that will help the lovely people at this record company to be able to produce this in tandem with producing the storyboards for them, giving them a feel for what the story is going to be here, because I'm very heavily invested in the song, the music, synchronizing with this trailer, so to speak. Hopefully, this will end up being on a similar level to past and current companies such as Blizzard, Larian Studios, Activision, and beyond, who have created some really incredible and really stunning cinematics to represent the products that they are selling. The final deadline for this I have planned to be February in 2025, especially due to the fact that I'm going to design school this year, as well as a lot of the skills that I will need to learn to be able to produce this in terms of the communication between all of the parties that are going to be involved. But at this point in time, the team is incredibly small, apart from the record company that we're working with. I consider them to be like a side entity for this project, but for the project it's myself and a good friend of mine, Brendan, who is going to be working on a lot of the visual effects and on the 3D side of things. The process breakdown is going to be as follows. So the research and inspiration is going to be this month collating as much as we possibly can to move forward with this project. The second thing is going to be the title and animation for the title, which is going to begin in September. And then storyboarding and the storyboarding review are going to be in November, as well as the concept art and illustration are going to take us all the way from the end of November into December, all the way to the very end of January 2024. Then concept art and review is going to be February 2024. Then environmental design, at least the illustration side of it, is going to be February 2024. That's going to be as well as the design of everything that's going to be in the cinematic. And then 3D development. That is going to begin February of 2024. After we have reviewed everything previously, that is going to be the next step. And then we are going to have months of basically a rinse and repeat of create, review, refine. And from there, the 3D review will be in, hopefully, October of 2024. Now, I hope at that point I will have some 3D skills myself, so that it's not just the one person that is working on this, because this is going to be quite a large project that we're going to be producing. One of my favorite parts, music and sound effects, are going to be September to December 2024. Final review is going to be from December 2024 to January 2025. And then we will publish it February 2025. So that is the preliminary plan that we have in place. Obviously, there will be things that change, but this is the wireframe for the project and for the deadlines. And I think it's really important for passion projects to have deadlines, because then when you are working in a professional environment and you have deadlines, you're able to hit those deadlines and understand that this is the deadline, and then you're able to kind of work backwards and then think, when do we need meetings, when do we need reviews as well, when do we need to refine what we are producing. Like I said, in terms of the team, it is very, very small. It is myself taking leads and directing the project, as well as working on storyboarding, as well as the logistics as well. And my good friend and 3D artist Brendan, he is going to be working on a lot of the 3D as well. I do also have my players from the campaign that are all going to be helping me in terms of, with their characters in the cinematic, what are they going to be doing? What actions are they going to do? What things are they going to see? What spells are they going to cast? What weapons are they going to be using? Or what is their personal preference in terms of what's happening in the kind of world, in the actions of this cinematic? And ultimately, this project is down to the passion of playing a game with my friends that I truly enjoy and will enjoy for many years to come. This project is not paid in any way. It more than likely will not be a paid project for anybody involved. But I will say this: if anybody does want to support the project in any way, shape, or form, I might create a GoFundMe or something. We'll see how things progress as time goes on. And from that, if you are a creative student, if you're an illustrator, if you're somebody that is interested in Dungeons and Dragons, that's interested in passion projects, that would like to get involved in any way, shape, or form, I do have a little form that you can fill in on the website, which is just a page on my portfolio. At the moment, we don't have anything official set up for this project. It's purely going to be a page on my portfolio where you can fill out a form or send any suggestions of cool things that we can maybe include in this. Like I've said, this is merely an announcement for the project and what is going to be going forward. I don't have anything to show as of yet, but I did do a very small introductory animation for my second campaign, which has begun in March, which I'll show you now. Can you guess the theme? Until next time. See you later.